diving. Who comes and stops us in our tracks? Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Good afternoon. And do this. Now I'm going to go watch me some football. Soon. Last preseason game. Watch everybody fight for their spots. All right. Almost done sharing. So we're going to be in the 12 by 12 if you'd like to follow along. And we are going to be reading the 12th tradition. Tradition 12 is anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all of our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. All right. And that's what we're going to talk about. I'll get started about 3-minute mark, about another minute and a half here. And I'm not sure I'll really get anybody because, most people everybody that tends to come here is headed to the football game. So, yeah, this will be, it's kind of an easier one on me because I don't have to think of stuff to come up with. So, all right, we're close enough to 3 minutes for me to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Daily Trudge. My name is Dion. If you're here, please say hello. If you're watching live or the rewatch. All right, let's get started. You ready? Okay. The spiritual substance of anonymity is sacrifice. Tradition 1 is about sacrifice also. Because AA's 12 traditions repeatedly ask us to give up personal desires for the common good, we realize the sacrificial spirit, well symbolized by anonymity, is the foundation of them all. It is AA's proved willingness to make these sacrifices that gives people their high confidence in the future. Why? Because we're not taking credit. Okay? If you're actually working the steps, you're not going to go online and brag that you helped somebody. No. I help people all day long. So, and are you making the world a better place? That's really what it comes down to. If not, you got some soul searching to do, man. But in the beginning, anonymity was not born of confidence. It was the child of our early fears. Our first nameless groups of alcoholics were secret societies. New prospects could only find us through a few trusted friends. The bare hint of publicity, even for our work, shocked us. Though ex-drinkers, we still thought we had to hide from public distrust and contempt. So when AA first started, it was a secret society. You don't talk about Fight Club. Very early. And the only way you could get into AA is if you were sponsored. You had to be let in by a trusted friend. Trust and alcoholism don't mix. But, and see why, the stigma that goes with it, the name calling and everything, the shame, everything that goes with it, right? When the big book appeared in 1939, we called it Alcoholics Anonymous. Its foreword made this revealing statement: it is important that we remain anonymous, because we are too few at the present to handle the overwhelming number of personal appeals which may result from the publication being mostly professional business or professional folk. We could not well carry on our occupations in such an event. Between these lines, it is easy to read our fear that large numbers of incoming people might break our anonymity wide open. Okay. The other problem was this, that we didn't have enough people. There were too many people wanting the help that they couldn't get to them. It was one reason. We weren't big enough. Right now, it's kind of happening in AA again. Okay. Before, in the 90s, if you wanted to chair a meeting, you better get your name on the fucking calendar. Now, we have to beg people to chair. We didn't have to used to do that, man. No. As AA group multiplies, so did the anonymity problem, right? Because what happens? Well, we get sober, we feel better. We want to go shout from the rooftops, man. I did. I wanted to shout the good tidings, right? It's pride. It's my ego. I haven't even done any work yet. And I think I can go out there and tell people what to do. We call this two-stepping. And enthusiastic over the spectacular recovery of a brother alcoholic, we'd sometimes discuss those intimate and harrowing aspects of his case meant for his sponsor's ears alone. Keep your damn mouth shut. If somebody tells you something, keep your mouth shut. So here, be careful who you tell your real good, your intimate things about. Okay? I don't bring my intimate things up here. I'll bring up some problems here and there, but no, not my, I'll bring it up if it's going to help somebody, but not in this setting. Mm-mm. The aggrieved victim would then rightly declare that his trust had been broken, because it has been. Now, it's going to be even harder for this person to trust the next person in AA. And I've had to deal with this a lot. Okay. I was working with one person, and all they ever kept doing was say, oh, well, my sponsor said that the other sponsor, and I kept saying, go get a different book. I'll even buy you a new book, because all that stuff is wrong. He wouldn't do it, so I'm not going to work with you anymore. Because there's nothing worse than having to fight what they think they already know. Right? When I was in sales, whenever I would hire somebody, I didn't like hiring people from the competition. You think it's a good thing because they're trained? No. They weren't trained correctly. So I would have to get them to unlive first. So I just wouldn't hire them. It took longer to get rid of the bullshit than it did to give them the right information. Okay? Because salespeople like to embellish so they can make that sale. They will lie through their fucking teeth. Okay? When such stories got into circulation outside of AA, the loss of confidence in the anonymity promise was severe. It frequently turned people from us. Clearly, every AA's member, and story too, had to be confidential if he wished. This was the first lesson in the practical application of anonymity. Okay, my podcast, our podcast, I don't like calling it my podcast, it's our podcast, it's for everyone. Okay. It's all anonymity. People are like, do you do video? No. If you are doing a recovery podcast and you're using video and your full name, you're blowing anonymity. Okay. Not the person telling the story. No. I would be blowing their anonymity. That's what matters. I can't tell your story. I can't tell your story. It's your story. You got good news. There's nothing worse than you have good news and it tells somebody, and they tell everyone else before you can. We call that stealing your thunder. Don't do that to people. You didn't do it. Don't take anything right. With characteristics and temperament, however, some of our newcomers cared not at all for secrecy. They wanted to shout AA from the rooftops and did. Alcoholics barely dry rushed about, bright-eyed, buttonholing anyone who would listen to their stories. Others hurried to place themselves before microphones and cameras. Sometimes they got distressingly drunk and let their groups down with a bang. They had changed from AA members into AA show-offs. All right, the podcast. I want you to have it. There's requirements to speakers. I have requirements. I don't list them. I don't want people to feel left out. But I want you to have at least a year. Not always. Not always. Okay, why do I say a year? Because there's a good chance you finish the steps by then. If you have under a year, then what I do is I say, or ask your sponsor. If your sponsor says it's okay, then I'm okay with it. Why am I doing that? Okay, because our stories disclose in a general way what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. Now, if I do a podcast and it's 45 minutes long, and they spent 40 minutes on what it was like and 5 minutes on what happened and what it's like now, it's not going to come out the way it's supposed to. There won't be any healing. Nothing was done. It won't work. They will feel like they failed. And who will that be on? Me. This phenomenon of contrast really sets us thinking. Squarely before us was the question, how anonymous should an AA member be? Our growth made it quite plain that we couldn't be a secret society, but it was equally plain that we could not be a vaudeville circuit either. The charting of a safe path between these extremes took a long time. So, what's a vaudeville act? It's like the circus. Okay. So back then it was called a vaudeville act, where you had the lady with a beard, the fattest man in the world, the tallest man, those kinds of things. As a rule, the average newcomer wanted his family to know immediately what he was trying to do. Thank God for that living amends, right? He also wanted to tell others who had tried to help him, his doctor, his minister, and close friends. As he gained confidence, he felt it right to explain his new way of life to his employer and business associates. When opportunities to be helpful came along, he found he could talk easily about AA to almost anyone. These quiet disclosures helped him lose his fear of the alcoholic stigma and spread the news of AA's existence in his community. Yeah, this person hasn't been on Instagram yet. Oh, no. Many a new man and woman came to AA because of such conversations, though not in strict letter of anonymity. Such communications were well within the spirit. Pay it forward, pass it along. I don't mind talking about AA, but I do have to be careful, because there is a sober community out there. They don't drink. They just don't want to be around people that are fucking drunk anymore. They're tired of it. Okay. And so I got to be careful. But let's remember, for some of us, this is life or death. For you, it's just inconvenient. Okay. Okay. So I don't mind if you have your sober areas, things like that, but don't run around trying to make this world safe for an alcoholic to live in, or we will wither and die. But it became apparent that word-of-mouth method was too limited. Our work, as such, needed to be publicized. The groups would have to reach quickly as many despairing alcoholics as they could. Consequently, many groups began to hold meetings which were open to interested friends in the public, so that the average citizen could see for himself just what AA was all about. So AA meetings started so that we could let the public know what we're about. Open meetings are for the public. Open meetings are for the public. They cannot speak in them. They'll probably let you anyway. AAs are pretty cool about that. But please don't donate. If you're not an alcoholic, don't put money in the basket, please. Okay? Or you'll be taking away somebody else's accountability. Okay? That's why we do that. The response to these meetings was warmly sympathetic. Soon groups began to receive requests for AA speakers to appear before civic organizations, church groups, and medical society. Provided anonymity was maintained on these platforms and reporters present were cautioned against the use of names or pictures, the result was fine. Then came our first few excursions into major publicity, which were breathtaking. Cleveland's Plain Dealer articles about us ran down membership from a few into hundreds overnight. The news stories of Mr. Rockefeller's Dinner for Alcoholics Anonymous helped double our total membership in a year's time. Jack Alexander's famous Saturday Evening Post piece made AA a national institution. Such tributes as these brought opportunities for still more recognition. Other newspapers and magazines wanted AA stories. Film companies wanted to photograph us. Radio and finally television besieged us with requests for appearances. What should we do? What should we do? Now, let's find out. As this tide offering top public approval swept in, we realized that it could do us incalculable good or great harm. Everything depended on how it would be channeled, just like our steps, just like us. Got to channel it the right way. Got to ask for direction. We got to think on this. Who's it going to affect? Who will it affect if I do this? We simply couldn't afford to take the chance of letting self-appointed members present themselves as messiahs representing AA before the whole public. The promoter instinct in us might be our undoing. Every alcoholic is a salesperson. How do you think you got your alcohol? Thanks. I'm almost done, so. The promoter instinct would be our doing. If even one publicly got drunk or was lured into AA's name for his own purposes, the damage might be irreparable. At this altitude, press, radio, film, and television, anonymity, 100% anonymity was the only possible answer. Here, principles would have to come with 4 personalities, without exception. So, if you're wondering, okay, if you use your full name, you better say, I do not speak for AA as a whole. This is my personal story. Dion, I'm a member of a 12-step group. Anonymous, I'm a member of AA. You can call me Mr. M. Anonymity. Why do we need anonymity? Humility. For humility as a group. Anonymity is the humility for the group process. Okay? These experiences taught us that anonymity is really humility at work. I promise you I didn't read before, but I just... It's an all-pervading spiritual quality which today keynotes AA life everywhere. Moved by the spirit of anonymity, we try to give up our natural desires for personal distinction as AA members, both among fellow alcoholics and before the general public. As we lay aside these very human aspirations, we believe that each of us takes part in the weaving and protective mantle which covers our whole society and under which we may grow and work in unity. We are sure that humility expressed by anonymity is the greatest safeguard Alcoholics Anonymous can ever have. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day. I love you. I won't be back today. So, no, football. Love you. Peace out. And have a